Second terrorist also killed now in the Hiranagar encounter. More updates coming in. Ajay Jandal, my colleague, is joining us for more details on this story. Ajay, second terrorist now also killed in the Hiranagar encounter.
Yes, that is what our sources are saying, that the second terrorist was hiding in the forest area under the bridge. He was continuously trying to target the security forces and was trying to flee from security forces, but official information is awaited. According to information, he was basically hiding inside the forest area under the bridge over here, which is connecting the two villages in this Hiranagar area. And immediately after this, terrorists last late night when opened fire on the security forces, in which one CRPF person was injured and later he was martyred. The location was the terrorist was located, and immediately extra additional troops they have cordoned off that area. And now this fresh input says that he has been killed in the fresh firing, and now searches are still continuing to ensure that if any explosive or anything is there, that has to be recovered for the security forces. As terrorists, they were planning to carry out major attack on the civilians yesterday, but on prime action of the forces have foiled this attempt. And definitely, it is now a matter of investigation that from where they have crossed and who were the people, those who were supporting them over here to stay, for the time and for further. So this is a matter of investigation, but our sources in the police say that it seems to be a freshly infiltrated group who have crossed the international border and then reached here in the Hiranagar sector, and they were planning to move, ahead from this location. But yesterday, when they were hungry, they were in need of water. They reached the local people over there, and when they were scared because they were carrying guns, and people, they went inside their houses. They opened fire on the civilians to target them, and they started killing the civilians over there. But people, they somehow they saved their life and informed the police and other security agencies, who have now neutralized all the two terrorists. Yesterday, one terrorist was gunned down in the late night in an encounter, and today in the morning, this in the fresh firing, one more terrorist has been neutralized, whose body is still lying over there in the forest area.
Right. In fact, Ajay, stay with us. We also have Major General Dhruv Katoch joining us now on the broadcast, defense expert. Major General Katoch, this is, of course, a big breaking development coming in. Another terrorist neutralized after the Hiranagar encounter. One had been neutralized last evening itself.
Thank you, Uday. Uday, I think this is a very deliberate provocation done on the part of both the terrorist groups as well as the handlers in Pakistan. And I think it is directly related to the elections which have just been concluded. They're sending a very strong message both to the government and to the people of India that, listen, terrorism is alive and well in Jammu and Kashmir. And I think we have to get to the bottom of this, that there needs to be a very, very firm response. Now, at this point of time, the government of India or the security forces, they are responding locally. But I think now we have to go beyond the local and hit out at the source as to where the brain is originating from, and that is Rawalpindi. I have always maintained, Uday, that until and unless we target the Pakistan military, that is the only time they will feel the pain. And I think now the time has come to not deal with terrorism in J&K as a localized problem, but in a doctrinal manner. And the doctrine should very clearly state that any act of terror or any movement of people from across the border, including drones, will be treated as an act of war, and the posts which are responsible to facilitate that infiltration will be legitimate targets. And then we should go about destroying those enemy posts which have facilitated the infiltration as a message to them. Now, I understand this will lead to escalation, but then there is no point in getting wounded day by day over the years. We have to give a strong message, and this message has to make the Pakistan army bleed. And once they start bleeding, this problem, in my view, will stop. Uday.
Right. Major General Sudhakarji, defense expert, also joins us now. Major General Sudhakarji, another terrorist, of course, neutralized, even as Jammu and Kashmir has seen 3 successive terror incidents in 3 days now.
Yeah, Uday, good morning. Thank you for getting me to your show. I tend to agree with my previous co-panelists, and the General Officer Kun deserves to have the last say on the subject. Just allow me to give a perspective. Now, what is the threat that India is addressing? Is that threat a short term in isolation or myopic one, or it is a long term threat? So if we look at it, post 1971 liberation of Bangladesh, when the K2 formula was adopted, along with the K2 formula, the underlying theme was to bleed India with 1,000 cuts. Now, bleed India with 1,000 cuts was not 10 years or 20 years or 30 years. It is one of the central agendas of the deep state of Pakistan. As long as we have understood the response matrix of this deep state agenda, central agenda, also has to be a kind of a long-term perspective. So it shouldn't happen that Srinagar is taking, economic boom has started taking place. The tourism footfall is one of the highest in the century, or 2.1 crore or more than that. This year itself is touching almost about 1.25 million in last couple of months, 4 5 months or so. So that should not actually put us into a state of complacency. India, in my opinion, like the general officer has said, General Katoch, that we have to adopt a very, very comprehensive, coherent, multi-pronged, long-term perspective response matrix to deal with this particular threat. Now, what is that matrix? So this matrix, in my opinion, Uday, has to be divided into a short, a medium, and a long-term one. It has to encompass all the attributes of a national power, whether it is military dynamics or the economics or the diplomacy, which is happening in some form or the other. Also, it is happening in form of a kind of a infrastructural development to isolate Pakistan. But that again is not enough. The main tap from where the water of terrorism, which is flowing out and flooding, is actually the Pakistan center, like the general officer said, Rawalpindi. The ISI is actually the center of gravity. Now, has the ISI shifted to India? No. What is it that they're trying to do? They have definitely sent a strong message. In the message, indirectly or directly, they've said that Article 370 abrogation has not gone down too well. Now, in the present situation of Pakistan being what it is this nation state in a position to undertake such kind of blatant terrorist activities, 3 such strikes in 3 days? No, my answer is no. So who's behind Pakistan supporting Pakistan? So there is somebody. So who's that somebody? That somebody which is fitting into the socket is China. China is playing a very big game. It is funding ISI. It is also promoting these kind of activities through ISI to be unleashed in a dormant sector, so-called dormant sector, less for last 2 years. If you look at Poonch, Rajouri, now towards Riyasi, they all fall to the western side of the National Highway 44. And this National Highway 44 is, in fact, is the dividing line to the south of Pir Panjal range. To the east of it is Doda, Kishtwar, takes us to Warwan Valley. But the message also going out loud and clearly is that these are all small pinpricks they are trying to demonstrate. There are bigger things around the corner which may take place in a more magnified form. So is India prepared for it? Why is it happening in this way? Have we not been able to anticipate that this could have taken place? Definitely not. If we have been able to anticipate, then why is it that the nation is not prepared for? So these are the questions which will keep coming to the security analysts. In my opinion, perhaps China is playing a big game because of the extended standoff, because we have developed a kind of a formidable defense along the eastern Ladakh and going down south towards the east. Perhaps China has got some kind of a malified intention either to go in a big way towards Gilgit-Baltistan or to develop the axis along the Karakoram or a parallel axis to CPEC, which came in the news in the recent past through Shakscam Valley, and perhaps to cut us off or to create a situation wherein our troops, which have got de-inducted from this dormant sector in the recent past, to make our extended standoff a viable one along the northern border, compel India to withdraw troops from the northern border and de-induct them to be deployed in this sector. Perhaps these are my assessments. and taking advantage of the situation, they also are playing a game, because you have to see the bigger dots. You go to join the dots. What's happening elsewhere in the world? Taiwan remains the center stage, the center of activity which China wants to fulfill, whether it is at the earliest or by, say, latest by as early as possible, but not later than 2035. For lack of correct expression, that is what is coming to my mind. And if they cross the timeline of 2025, perhaps the Taiwan Strait is going to become a formidable kind of a network of defensive measures, which will prohibit China to capture or reunify in a peaceful manner Taiwan. So therefore, there are lots of links and things to be actually considered. The larger picture says that perhaps it's a bigger strategy which is being unleashed by China, and Pakistan is merely a proxy which is slapping India from time to time to give a message that, yes, you may have come for the third time into the power, but there is a bigger thing that we are actually seeking to address with you: liberate Jammu and Kashmir, which is the central agenda of the deep state of Pakistan. Back to you, Uday.
Amit Raina, Kashmiri Pandit, also in fact joins us now. Amit, do you see a pattern here in these successive incidents which have occurred over 3 days? What is your inference, Amit?
We need to understand that multiple messages have been, they have been trying to send multiple messages with these attacks. The first attack was on the pilgrims who had been to Shiv Khori and Mata Vaishno Devi. So it was a clear message to the pilgrims who visit the holy shrine of Mata Vaishno Devi. It was a message to the people who are planning to visit Amarnath Yatra, which is starting in another 18 days. It was a message to Kashmiri Pandits who plan to visit annual Mata Kheer Bhani Yatra. The timing was in coinciding with the swearing-in ceremony of the new government. Subsequent attacks in Doda and in Hiranagar clearly indicate that the Pakistan is willing to expand the area of action beyond Kashmir Valley into Jammu. And in the last 3 years, we have seen multiple attacks happening on people in Jammu area, especially on the people who come, who are minority in Jammu and Kashmir, who are Hindus by religion. So whether it was an attack at Dangri, whether it was attack at pilgrims yesterday, and even today at Hiranagar, it is clear that attacks are targeted at a certain section of the population in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, one has to understand that the problem of Jammu and Kashmir, in spite of whatever hard work the government does, in this case, unfortunately, I can say that there was a lethargy on the part of the state administration and intelligence agencies that they could not prevent such number of attacks coming together. But till the state of Pakistan exists, till the deep state of Pakistan exists, the Jammu and Kashmir will continue to be on boil because Jammu and Kashmir problem is the core to the existence of the deep state of Pakistan. So if you really are interested in solving the issue of Jammu and Kashmir, something serious needs to be done with Pakistan, and especially with the deep state, the Pakistan army. And unless and until you do not stop the whole problem at its fountainhead, which is the Rawalpindi, the problem in Jammu and Kashmir will continue to be there. We may see some patches of peace, but ultimately it will keep on coming back and wounding us at bigger numbers. So one has to find ways, how do we control Pakistan now? Especially one needs to understand that there are many trigger points which one can activate with China. Given their large investments in CPEC, we need to find ways that how do we leverage any damage to CPEC, a threat to CPEC, does it bother China? How do we leverage CPEC to our advantage, which is currently passing through Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir? Is taking back Pakistan and Jammu and Kashmir through an army action a viable solution today? I honestly don't know, but I think serious thinking needs to be done and serious plan of action needs to be done. Otherwise, we'll continue to see this bloodshed happening. As a Kashmiri, I'm so disappointed that that we could not protect the guests who had come to our state. It is such an insult and shame I don't know about administration, what they feel, but as a Kashmiri, as a resident of Jammu and Kashmir, as a native of Jammu and Kashmir, I feel so saddened that guests who had come to our state, whose security was our responsibility, we could not save lives of 10 people and we let them die because of the negligence of our agency. So it is a very sad moment, and I think it is time that the state administration as well as Government of India gets up and takes some decisive calls. Otherwise, we'll continue to bleed. There will be 1,000 cuts which will continue to bleed Jammu and Kashmir, which will continue to bleed India.
Okay, let me in fact quickly bring in some more breaking developments now coming in this hour. Material bearing Pakistan branding and markings was found in the possession of the terrorist who was killed during the encounter in Hiranagar. These are latest updates coming in. Pakistan markings found on the material recovered from the terrorist. This is again a giveaway, Major General Katoch, for those who thought that this is not connected to Pakistan. Here's yet another indication.
Uday, for most of us who have served on the line of control, we have seen those people coming across. We have had encounters after encounters over the last 3 decades. So I don't think there is any doubt in the mind of any military personnel or even in the mind of the Aam Admi as far as India is concerned. It is only a few politicians who actually make this out into an issue that, okay, it is not Pakistan, it is something local. You remove the weapons and you remove the money, then that is the only way in which Kashmir, the entire Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir will enter into an era of peace. But this bleeding by 1,000 cuts, it has to stop. And I think that message has to be given very, very clearly to the political leadership of Pakistan and to their military. And if it necessitates going to war, well, so be it. We might as well have one war and finish it off once and for all than to have this consistent bleeding going on for decades and decades. I don't think that is the solution anymore. So as I had mentioned to you, Uday, we have got to go in for a doctrinal approach. Firstly, the political message has to go. Perhaps the Prime Minister can go to the Indian Military Academy or the NDA in a passing out parade and give out this doctrine that any act by Pakistan in promoting terror across the international border or the line of control will be treated as an act of war and will be responded to accordingly. Now, once that doctrine comes into place, then we have a justification for doing what we do. And unless we do something which will hurt that state or perhaps even break it up, well, I think that is what needs to be done. The previous speaker, Mr. Rena, he brought out the question of an intelligence failure. There has certainly been a failure. I've got no doubts about it. I don't think it is at the apex level. Perhaps at the intelligence, but at the localized level, there has certainly been a failure. There's been a failure of ground intelligence, and those people should have been aware as to what is happening on the ground. Now that is something which we, of course, which we as the security forces need to look into very, very seriously.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.